let's just be honest. Car manufacturers lie about horsepower ratings like women lie to their therapists. I asked a girl I was dating once, I said, why do you lie to your therapist? She says, because I don't want him to know I'm crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But Dodge has never done this.
No, I mean, coming out of the gates with a 6.2-liter supercharged V8 making over 700 horsepower, where are you going to get performance like that out of a car that's under 70 grand?
Even back in the 70s era when they had the 426 Hemis, the 426 Hemi was rated at 425 horsepower, made almost 500 horsepower.
Really?
Yeah, they
Okay.
lied about it then. Dodge is lying the other way. Yeah.
Right.
So congratulations, Dodge.
Nice.
Once again, you're stomping on everybody. But who thought, I mean, they came out with a Viper, had the big power. I mean, that Viper came out and it was 400 horsepower, which was a crazy number.
Yeah, that was big.
They always push the envelope, Dodge does. And I don't know how they have the guts to do it, but no one else seems to have the guts to do what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing the lime green cars, and they've got the wide bodies. And now this thing goes up. You can get that red-eye version. It's got 800 horsepower.
Well, yeah, not only the red-eye version, but you also have the super stock version, which makes 807 horsepower, which is a little bit more than the red-eye wide body. And that car does a quarter mile in 10.5 seconds, which is insane.
I was arguing with a guy on this car the other day, and I mean, he's one of those guys that really thinks he knows a lot about cars, but I mean, this guy was so bad, I would have paid for his vasectomy just to do the world some good. But this car will beat your Tesla.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
totally.
they go, oh, it beats the Tesla, and the Tesla's faster in the quarter of a mile. Well, let's go a quarter of a mile and 300 more feet, because this thing's coming on strong.
And let's do it again and again
and again. Oh, yeah, because you'll be pushing that Tesla home because it's going to be out of power.
And overheat.
Right. Yeah, and that's the cool thing about this, is that it can do it again and again because it's got that chiller function, which, it's really cool. What Dodge has done is that they've taken the air conditioning system, and you have a chiller function. So if the engine starts warming up after a run, you push this chiller button, and then it reroutes the AC system through the pump that cools the supercharger back down. So all of your AC cools the engine back down so you can go make another hit again, which is fantastic because as a drag racer, I almost always run my car on alcohol because it'll run a lot cooler and I don't have any cool down time after a run. But you can't do that on something like this because alcohol is quite honestly an awful fuel to drive on the street. I mean, it kicks up a horrible stench.
Yeah.
But the car will run a lot cooler. What this does is they use the AC system to cool it down so it's ready for another run right away, which is fantastic because you can just kick that on back up the return road and come right back around and do it again. So Congratulations, Dodge. Once again, you're on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the neat thing about this, too, is because it's engineers and guys who race and drive and love the sport that are coming out with cars like this, with the horsepower and the intuitiveness of that, or just the engineering behind it is just amazing. I mean, even what I always liked, and it's the smallest little thing, is that even that front headlight that's supposed to be an extra light is the intake. And that is the coolest thing because, I mean, I know tons of guys that would remove certain headlights or one of their headlights just to have an intake there.
And this car is honestly, for an 800 horsepower car, this thing is actually quite affordable. I mean, a couple weeks pay and maybe a couple trips to the blood bank and you got your payment. So I mean, and I will drink to that.
You whiskey girl.
One thing when I saw this car first come out is that, if you remember, Patrick, that this car, when it came out, also was around the time they redid the Camaro. And on this car, I thought the styling on the outside of it was just amazing. And it's not just the Hellcat, but just the Charger or Challenger in general. I thought it looked great. The interior, to me, I thought they missed the mark, which on the Camaro, I thought they did a great job on the interior and they needed work on the exterior.
Now, I love the new Camaro when they came out with I bought one right away. When I saw that and they came out with one of the ground effects deal, I bought the SS with the LS3 with the Brembos and the 6-speed, and I just loved that car. It was just a fantastic car. I really had to have one of those. And I enjoyed it a lot. And I was going to buy one of these, and I went and saw one, and I opened it up, and you're absolutely right. It's got motorhome seats in it.
Yeah,
they're
so bulky.
If you've ever seen the seats are this thick.
Right.
And I just, what is going on there?
I get Americans are bigger, but geez.
Yeah, they're a comfortable seat, don't get me wrong, but honestly, I don't need a seat this thick in my performance car.
And I was even seeing in some of the Hellcats, they offer cloth seats, which I guess you have to cut corners someplace. But
yeah, and I don't mind that so much because because I like even the houndstooth interior in the Camaros is really attractive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
I get
you
it.
don't have to have leather, but you don't have to have a motorhome seat in your car. I mean, that thing's got to go. And it's in all of them. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
all of
no
them.
getting around that giant seat, and I just don't understand why it's in there. There was one thing that I do like it's in there, is that when you do the red-eye version, the HELLCAT version has the 2.4-liter supercharger, makes, I think, 11.6 PSI of boost, and then you go to the red-eye version, it's got a 2.7-liter supercharger, and it makes 14.5 pounds of boost.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot
I was
of
reading
boost.
11.6 pounds of boost.
Yeah,
Was
the
it 14?
HELLCAT Red Eye has 14.5 PSI of boost. And if you happen to have caught our Countach episode in the Classics version, where we showed I think we showed a McLaren connecting rod. Yeah. And yeah, that's what happens to some engines when you put too much boost to them. So get a chance to check that episode out. This has had no failures that I know of whatsoever.
Yeah, they
at
just
this
keep running
level of
hard.
boost. They're not blowing head gaskets, they're not bending rods, they're not exploding these engines. This is just unbelievably bulletproof at 800 horsepower.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And of course, you know that the owners are beating on these things.
They've got because there's more electronics nowadays, you can't harm these cars as much. Did you know that when you go to do the line lock version, and you press the button to lock it down, it'll only allow you 200 rear wheel revolutions before it stops?
Oh, only 200.
Well, I'm just saying.
Okay.
You see, you can't
So
do
your Pirellis will probably be fine after that.
But you can't do a burnout until you absolutely burn the thing down to infinity. So they're building in stuff to keep things from burning up. And I was surprised. I bought a Dodge Viper many years ago, a GTS version. And I took off with the thing, and I was just ripping and screaming with it and just having a good time. And I had the radio up a little loud, and I over-revved it, I thought. And boom, 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 it had a rev limiter on it. And I said, wow, that's crazy. I just wasn't expecting technology of that level in this car because it seems so analog. And this car here has an analog feel to it, but it's not. There's some crazy stuff going on with this and all kinds of cool programmable things with the whole setups with it. There's some, if you get a chance to get into the guts of this, it's got, even with the launch assist, where it'll pull up to 20% of the torque away if it senses wheel hop.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, to lay that power down, which is pretty neat. Yeah.
Because my GTS Viper would wheel hop. If you took off with that car just right, the rear tires would wheel hop, which really surprised me.
Yeah.
And this has a way to get rid of that.
And then the neat thing, too, with this, speaking of technology, is the fact that this car you can obviously drive to the track, run at 10.5, but on the way home, you can actually get up to 20, 22 miles a gallon.
Will it really get that high of fuel mileage?
And keep in mind that if you put this car in a 10x16 room, it'll suck all of the air out of it within 60 seconds. That's how much air the supercharger gulps. So, I mean...
I've been in a room with Tony before, and he does the same exact thing.
Yeah!
Do I hear an alarm going off? Obviously, we've all been there. And quite honestly, if you do have the HELLCAT and somebody does pull up to you with the HELLCAT Red Eye, you're going to do that.
Oh, for sure.
Because honestly, I know that 700 horsepower is an incredible amount of horsepower, but man, 800 horsepower takes it to that point of absolute insanity.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that Dodge does well. Dodge makes insanity. That's what they do, and that's why you want one. And we're going to get to the ratings on this car at the end, and you can't let these numbers fool you.
Yeah.
Because this car, from the minute that I saw this car, and then you brought this up, and we had to do some research on this car, wow, this car has some crazy stuff in it that makes you want to own one of these like right now.
And they do something else, too, which is pretty neat, and they make a HELLCAT crate motor that's 1,000 horsepower. So you have some project out there that needs a lot of power and you want to throw a Dodge motor in it?
See, Dodge is selling car cocaine.
Yeah,
that's
they
what
really
they're
are.
doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And if you get a
all
chance,
the drugs.
Yeah, exactly. If you get a chance to check out an episode, there's an episode that we have out called "Surviving the Cocaine Cowboys." Same kind of deal. if you find people's addiction, you can really profit from it.
Oh, yeah.
But Dodge is doing this for more than just the money.
Yeah.
Because like even their Dodge Viper, I don't think they ever made any money on that car.
Really?
No, I didn't make enough of them.
Originally, but now even still?
I just don't think so. They're doing this because those guys are insane professors, enthusiasts, engineers.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is that they've spent a lot of when they originally came out with this engine was supposed to be some X amount of performance. But these guys went crazy behind the scenes and said, hey, we've got the potential to make 700, 800 horsepower with this. Let's just do it and then dump it on the brass in the end.
I would love to have been at that meeting.
And exactly, and that's the kind of thing that Dodge does. I mean, they absolutely create insanity. And
what are we going to do, 400 or 500 horsepower? 700, 800.
see how it turns out, right?
We'll let you know when it's done.
I love the hood pins. It's just great, fantastic, stunning stuff. I love that. There's badges all over the place on the car and just some beautiful stuff. There's a lot of little trim stuff on this that you look at and you think, man, they are just absolutely enthused about what they're doing.
Yeah, I love that that dual nostril hood that they have, and of course it has the other intakes that are on itself too, but kind of remind me of like a WS6 almost.
I'm still surprised that on this car they don't do, if any car deserves a 345 rear tire, this car deserves a 345 rear tire and needs it.
What's it, 11 inches wide?
Yeah, it's got a 305 tire on it right now, but quite honestly, this could use a giant tire. I mean, it's a heavy, heavy car. It's 4,500 pounds.
Longer than a Range Rover.
Is it really?
Yes. I mean, come on, it's insane.
If it had a bigger tire on it, it'll already pull the front tires up with the, what is that tire? Comes with a Nitto tire on it?
Oh, yeah. So the Super Stock comes with a 18-inch Nitto drag radial.
So it'll already come with it. It'll already pull the front tires off the ground. So it'll hook. I mean, they're making this thing hook, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Anyways, but honestly, you don't get a chance on the street to really clean the tire and do this. So if you had a bigger giant tire on it, like a 345 or something, really steamroller, it would be
like
nice.
Countach tire?
Yeah, like a Countach tire. Yeah, like the Countach had in the other episode. This would really deserve it. I do love the fact that it's a two-piece rotor. Because if you are going to go out and beat on the thing, it's nice to have a changeable rotor so you don't have to deal with the expense of changing the whole hat and everything that comes with it.
Biggest brakes that Dodge has ever put on a car.
Oh, are they really? Well, they're Brembo 6 pistons, so they're a big brake on the car.
14.6 inches, I think they said.
LED taillights. I love that.
Yeah, it's
real
cool.
Sexy taillight on the.
What do you talk about the headlights? Headlights are great, too.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely. The spoilers, I noticed, were different between the Super Stock and the red eyes and all that. The Super Stock has a longer, flatter spoiler.
Almost, I would dare to say like a ducktail in a sense, but it's not as curved up.
Well, I
like
think
that,
there's a little more to it than that but remember that Super Stock version is limited to like 168 mile an hour top end because of the tires.
Yeah,
but
it's
back
got
in
like 200 something mile an hour top.
It was back in the 90s. Warren Johnson and Kurt Johnson were racing the Firebirds, and the Firebirds are starting to approach, getting into that 200 mile an hour range, and then all of a sudden one day Kurt Johnson just down the track he goes, and the rear end of the car lifted off the ground and swapped ends with him at the finish line.
Oh.
The rear end of the car.
That's scary.
Because he's trying to take less and less spoiler on the rear, trying to get that mile per hour.
Yeah, less
but
drag.
you have to pay attention to that when these speeds get up, because this car will go over 200 miles an hour, and this car is an absolute brick. So you think about the coefficient of drag on this. I know that the Charger coefficient of drag is like 0.35, which is super high. This is probably real similar to that. So it's pushing a lot of air and a lot of turbulent air. So it's good that they spent the time to figure out the angles that are going to be required to keep this car stable at the higher speeds. So congratulations, Dodge. You're doing the whole deal.
You don't want a 4,500 pound car coming around on you with the back end.
You're not going to catch that at all.
That'll make you pucker.
All right, I think it's time. I hear a squealing noise. Love anything the first time I see it. I mean, we all have that friend that falls in love with any girl that talks to him, but we usually find out they're married when the bouncer throws us out or we run out of singles. But this car, I mean, from the moment I saw it, I loved it and I wanted one.
I feel attacked by that statement, but I totally agree with you that when I first saw this, even the original one, I loved it. I thought it was great. And when the red eye came out with the hood and just the wide body, the extra 3.5 inches it adds.
I still am bothered by the fact that it has a small tire on it. And at first I was bothered by the wheel well arches when they go to the wide body. Instead of widening the fenders out, they just added those extensions on there. And I was bothered by that. But then we did that Countach episode, and I said, okay, I get it, because Dodge and Lamborghini have an affair that they've had for a while with the V10.
Sure.
So I get it. It's almost a lineage thing now.
Yeah.
So I get it and I like it. And that's one of the things that I did in styling. Is at first I really dinged this thing hard for those wheel arches because I didn't like them. Then we did the Lamborghini Countach episode, and you can see on the Countach, beautiful, beautiful car, had the flares. And I said, okay, I get the lineage because I get the connection between the two companies. So when it came to styling, I actually rated it pretty high. I gave it a 60.
Oh, wow. Okay. You actually went higher than me. But just going off of that wide body, now we all know that the proper way to do a wide body is to roll those fenders out. If they did that and that was like one panel and there wasn't that stick-on look that they have, that it would look amazing. But I still think it looks good even with the stick-on wide body fenders. But in styling, I actually dinged it pretty hard because of the interior, because that has been a bugaboo of mine for a while. So I gave it a 55.
I forgot that the interior sucks.
Yeah.
And you're right. Some of them have that fake carbon fiber, which I get it. It looks good. And then I saw real carbon fiber on some.
Yeah.
I think that if you're going to you shouldn't do fake carbon fiber.
No,
they should just either do carbon fiber or just come up with a design that doesn't try to look like carbon fiber. Because when you do fake stuff, it's like the girls with the Gucci bags that are fake. Come on, you're not driving up there in a Honda with a missing hubcap and getting out with a Gucci bag.
Well, let's be honest though, because you could drive one of these and get out with just a t-shirt and jeans and be fine.
I know, but most of the time when you see men in t-shirt and jeans, they're like the really rich guys.
Oh.
When you see the men in the Gucci shirts and stuff, those are the guys that are poor because they blow all their money on it. But this car in performance, it's tough to rate this thing super, super high because it's so heavy.
Really?
I don't understand why it's 4,500 pounds, except that probably 500 of it is in those seats. So if you got rid of those, if you could get rid of those seats, I think it'd be fantastic. So I didn't ding it really hard, but it's right in line with the C8 with the little motor in it, the 490-ish horsepower C8. So I gave it a 46.
Really, a 46?
Because I can't take a performance car serious if it's 4,500 pounds.
Okay.
It's just too heavy. Buy some aluminum. Get rid of those. It's so much interior. There's so much stuff in the car. It really is. It's got a lot of excessive stuff on it that I don't understand why it needs to be there.
Yeah.
And if I can't see how they can't pull 500 pounds out of this car.
Oh, they probably could, but it would just cost more money.
I understand.
Super stock is already $80,000.
Yeah, steel is a lot cheaper than aluminum.
Yeah, and where are you also going to get this performance out of a car with the same horsepower for under $100,000? Look at what the Aventador is, 700 horsepower, or the original one was 700 horsepower, and that's $500,000.
But the thing is on this car is that you take and look at the new Corvette, and it can't run with this in a quarter mile. I get that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the Corvette will run circles around this on a road course.
Yeah,
so really all this car is good for is doing like 200-foot-long burnouts.
Which is typically, I'm going to get killed for this, the owners of these cars is red light to red light is what they're doing.
Yeah, you got a point there. But at the same time, if it is red light to red light, it still only has a 305 tire on it. So get a 345 tire on it. So I've got a couple of complaints on it, and that's why I dinged it with my performance rating. Wait, one thing that I was surprised on this thing is that it has the same quarter mile time as a 458 Ferrari, which makes 570 horsepower.
Which version of it?
Well, because
the red eye is what, 11.1?
Yeah, and that's about where the Ferrari is. The 458 is just about a 10.9 car. So it's got the same performance as a Ferrari. It's 1,000 pounds heavier. But the Ferrari will just kill it on a road course. It's not even going to be close. But you're right. It's triple the money.
And the girl's going to get in your car rather than a
Challenger. Yeah. Well, I think that you wouldn't have too much trouble picking up girls in a Ferrari.
No, not at all. That's why he never lets me borrow his car.
Right, yeah. Tony has trouble picking up girls no matter what car he's in. You've seen him, right?
So you're really making me rethink this whole performance number, because I gave it a huge number because I it's 7 to 800 horsepower.
You gave it a 200-foot burnout number.
Honestly, I did.
And honestly, I do want to hear your 200-foot burnout number. What is it?
80.
Oh, see, there we go.
But that's too high. It's too high.
I know it's too high.
Yeah.
Now let's take the 200-foot burnout out. Where are you at?
Yeah, for an actual performing, like a track car or a road course car, I would. You're right. I'd probably be down like around a 60.
I still think that's too high.
It might be too high.
I'll
but
buy
it's
you a
still
round of
800
drinks if
horsepower.
I can get a 50 out of you.
Okay.
All right, we got a 50 out of Tony. I'm at 46. But you know what? The damn of it is on this thing is that after I did all the research on this car, I want one.
I want one.
Know,
At least for like a couple weekends. Until the tires wear out, then I'm done.
So you almost have to throw these numbers out, and it's like that girl that you go out on a date with, and she's just all plumped up, and she's got all that stuff going on, and you know she's going to be a nightmare girlfriend, but she's going to be a good time.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly what this car is.
I'll drink to that.
I will drink to that, absolutely. Congratulations, Dodge. You got our vote. Well, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. And you know what they say, if you have an opinion that's different than ours, keep it to yourself.